The complete work of Swami Vivekananda, Video 21, Chapter 6, Pratyahara and Dharana. The next step is called Pratyahara. What is this? You know how perceptions come. First of all, there are the external instruments, then the internal organs acting in the body through the brain centers, and there is the mind. When these come together and attach themselves to some external object, then we perceive it. At the same time, it is a very difficult thing to concentrate the mind and attach it to one organ only. The mind is a slave. We hear, be good and be good and be good, taught all over the world. There is hardly a child born in any country in the world who has not been told, do not steal, do not tell a lie, but nobody tells the child how he can help doing them. Talking will not help him. Why should he not become a thief? We do not teach him how not to steal. We simply tell him, do not steal. Only when we teach him to control his mind do we really help him. All actions, internal and external, occur when the mind joins itself to centers, called the organs. Willingly or unwillingly, it is drawn to join itself to the centers. And that is why people do foolish deeds and feel miserable, which, if the mind were under control, they wouldn't do. What would be the result of controlling the mind? It then would not join itself to the centers of perception, and naturally, feeling and willing would be under control. It is clear so far. Is it possible? It is perfectly possible. You see it in modern times. The faith healers teach people to deny misery and pain and evil. Their philosophy is rather roundabout, but it is a part of yoga upon which they have somehow stumbled. Where they succeed in making a person throw off suffering by denying it, they really use a part of Pratyahara, as they make the mind of the person strong enough to ignore the senses. The hypnotists, in a similar manner, by their suggestion, excite in the patient a sort of morbid pratyahara for the time being. The so-called hypnotic suggestion can only act upon a weak mind, and until the operator, by means of fixed gaze or otherwise, has succeeded in putting the mind of the subject in a sort of passive, morbid condition, his suggestion never works. Now the control of the centers, which is established in a hypnotic patient or the patient of faith healing by the operator for a time, is reprehensible because it leads to ultimate ruin. It is not really controlling the brain centers by the power of one's own will, but is, as it were, stunning the patient's mind for a time by sudden blows which another's will delivers to it. It is by means of reins and muscular strength the mad carrier of a fiery team, but rather by asking another to deliver heavy blows on the heads of the horses, to stun them for a time into gentleness. At each one of these processes, the man operated upon loses a part of his mental energies, till at last the mind, instead of gaining the power of perfect control, becomes a shapeless, powerless mass, and the only goal of the patient is the lunatic asylum. Every attempt at control which is not voluntary, not with the controller's own mind, is not only disastrous, but it defeats the end. The goal of each soul is freedom, mastery, freedom from the slavery of matter and thought, mastery of external and internal nature. Instead of leading towards that, every will current from another, in whatever form it comes, either as direct control of organs or as forcing to control them, while under a morbid condition, only rivets one link more to the already existing heavy chain of bondage of past thoughts, past superstitions. Therefore, be aware how you allow yourselves to be acted upon by others. Be aware how you unknowingly bring another to ruin. True, some succeed in doing good to many for a time, by giving a new trend to their propensities, but at the same time they bring ruin to millions by the unconscious suggestions they throw around, rousing in man and woman that morbid, passive, hypnotic condition which makes them almost soulless at last. Whosoever therefore asks anyone to believe blindly or drags people behind him by the controlling power of his superior will does an injury to humanity, though he may not intend it. Therefore, use your own minds, control body and mind yourselves. Remember that until you are a diseased person, no extraneous will can work upon you. Avoid everyone, however great and good he may be, who asks you to believe blindly. All over the world there have been dancing and jumping and howling sects, who spread like infection when they begin to sing and dance and preach. They also are a sort of hypnotists. They exercise a singular control for the time being over sensitive persons. Alas, often in the long run to degenerate whole races. Aye, it is healthier for the individual or the race to remain wicked than be made apparently good by such morbid extraneous control. One's heart sinks to think of the amount of injury done to humanity by such irresponsible yet well-meaning religious fanatics. They little know that the minds which attain to sudden spiritual upheaval under their suggestions with music and prayers are simply making themselves passive, morbid, and powerless, and opening themselves to any other suggestion, be it ever so evil. Little do these ignorant, deluded persons dream that whilst they are congratulating themselves upon their miraculous power to transform human hearts, which power they think was poured upon them by some being above the clouds, they are sowing the seeds of future decay, of crime, of lunacy, and of death. Therefore, be aware of everything that takes away your freedom. Know that it is dangerous and avoid it by all the means in your power. He who has succeeded in attaching or detaching his mind to or from the centers at will has succeeded in Pratyahara, which means gathering towards. Checking the outgoing powers of the mind, freeing it from the thraldom of the senses. When we can do this, we shall really possess character. Then alone we shall have taken a long step towards freedom. Before that, we are mere machines. How hard it is to control the mind. Well, has it been compared to the maddened monkey? There was a monkey restless by his own nature, as all monkeys are. As if that were not enough, someone made him drink freely of wine so that he became still more restless. Then a scorpion stung him. When a man is stung by a scorpion, he jumps about for a whole day. So the poor monkey found his condition worse than ever. To complete his misery, a demon entered into him. What language can describe the uncontrollable restlessness of that monkey? The human mind is like that monkey, incessantly active by its own nature. Then it becomes drunk with the wine of desire, thus increasing its turbulence. After desire takes possession comes the sting of the scorpion of jealousy at the success of others, and last of all the demon of pride enters the mind, making it think itself of all importance. How hard to control such a mind. One is to sit for some time and let the mind run on. The mind is bubbling up all the time. It is like that monkey jumping about. Let the monkey jump as much as he can. You simply wait and watch. Knowledge is power, says the proverb, and that is true. Until you know what the mind is doing, you cannot control it. Give it the rein. Many hideous thoughts may come into it. You will be astonished that it was possible for you to think such thoughts. But you will find that each day the mind's vagaries are becoming less and less violent, that each day it is becoming calmer. In the first few months, you will find that the mind will have a great many thoughts. Later, you will find that they have somewhat decreased, and in a few more months, they will be fewer and fewer, until at last the mind will be under perfect control. But we must patiently practice every day. As soon as the steam is turned on, the engine must run. As soon as things are before us, we must perceive. So a man, to prove that he is not a machine, must demonstrate that he is under the control of nothing. This controlling of the mind and not allowing it to join itself to the centers is Pratyahara. How is this practiced? It is a tremendous work not to be done in a day. Only after patient, continuous struggle for years can we succeed. After you have practiced Pratyahara for a time, take the next step, the dharana, holding the mind to certain points. What is meant by holding the mind to certain points? Forcing the mind to feel certain parts of the body to the exclusion of others. For instance, try to feel only the hand to the exclusion of other parts of the body. When the chitta or mind stuff is confined and limited to a certain place, it is dharana. This dharana is of various sorts, and along with it, it is better to have a little play of the imagination. For instance, the mind should be made to think of one point in the heart. That is very difficult. An easier way is to imagine a lotus there. That lotus is full of light, effulgent light. Put the mind there, or think of the lotus in the brain as full of light, or of the different centers in the Sushumna mentioned before. The yogis must always practice. He should try to live alone. The companionship of different sorts of people distracts the mind. He should not speak much, because to speak distracts the mind. Not work much, because too much work distracts the mind. The mind cannot be controlled after a whole day's hard work. One observing the above rules becomes a yogi. Such is the power of yoga that even the least of it will bring a great amount of benefit. It will not hurt anyone, but will benefit everyone. First of all, it will tone down nervous excitement, bring calmness, enable us to see things more clearly. The temperament will be better, and the health will be better. Sound health will be one of the first signs, and the beautiful voice. Defects in the voice will be changed. This will be among the first of the many effects that will come. Those who practice hard will get many other signs. Sometimes there will be sounds as a peal of bells heard at a distance, commingling and falling on the air as one continuous sound. Sometimes things will be seen, little specks of light, floating and becoming bigger and bigger. And when these things come, know that you are progressing fast. Those who want to be yogis and practice hard must take care of their diet at first. But for those who want only a little practice for everyday business sort of life, let them not eat too much. Otherwise, they may eat whatever they please. For those who want to make rapid progress and to practice hard, a strict diet is absolutely necessary. They will find it advantageous to live only on milk and cereals for some months. As the organizations becomes finer and finer, it will be found in the beginning that the least irregularity throws one out of balance. One bit of food, more or less, will disturb the whole system until one gets perfect control, and then one will be able to eat whatever one likes. When one begins to concentrate, the dropping of a pin will seem like a thunderbolt going through the brain. As the organs get finer, the perceptions get finer. These are the stages through which we have to pass, and all those who persevere will succeed. And all those who persevere will succeed. Give up all argumentation and other distractions. Is there anything in dry intellectual jargon? It only throws the mind off its balance and disturbs it. Things of subtler planes have to be realized. Will talking do that? So give up all vain talk. Read only those books which have been written by persons who have had realization. Be like the pearl oyster. There is a pretty Indian fable to the effect that if it rains when the star Swati is in the ascendant and a drop of rain falls into an oyster, that drop becomes a pearl. The oysters know this, so they come to the surface when that star shines and wait to catch the precious raindrop. When a drop falls into them, quickly the oyster close their shells and dive down to the bottom of the sea, there to patiently develop the drop into the pearl. We should be like that. First hear, then understand, and then, leaving all distractions, shut your minds to outside influences and devote yourselves to developing the truth within you. There is the danger of frittering away your energies by taking up an idea only for its novelty and then giving it up for another that is newer. Take one thing up and do it, and see the end of it, and before you have seen the end, do not give it up. He who can become mad with an idea, he alone sees light. Those that only take a nibble here and a nibble there will never attain anything. They may titillate their nerves for a moment, but there it will end. They will be slaves in the hands of nature and will never get beyond the senses. Those who really want to be yogis must give up, once for all, this nibbling at things. Take up one idea. Make that one idea your life. Think of it. Dream of it. Live on that idea. Let the brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea. And just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success. And this is the way great spiritual giants are produced. Others are mere talking machines. If we really want to be blessed and make others blessed, we must go deeper. The first step is not to disturb the mind, not to associate with persons whose ideas are disturbing. All of you know that certain persons, certain places, certain foods repel you. Avoid them, and those who want to go to the highest must avoid all company, good or bad. Practice hard, whether you live or die, doesn't matter. You have to plunge in and work without thinking of the result. If you are brave enough, in 6 months you will be a perfect yogi. But those who take up just a bit of it and a little of everything else make no progress. It is of no use simply to take a course of lessons. To those who are full of tamas, ignorant and dull, those whose minds never get fixed or any idea, who only crave for something to amuse them, religion and philosophy are simply objects of entertainment. These are the unpersevering. They hear or talk, think it very nice, and then go home and forget all about it. To succeed, you must have a tremendous perseverance, tremendous will. I will drink the ocean, says the persevering soul, at my will mountains will crumble up. Have that sort of energy, that sort of will. Work hard and you will reach the goal.